Frontline fans, welcome back to Comic Frontline, and fans, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to do episode number 3 of Pay It or Slay It. That's right, guys. This is the comic series where I talk about 10 comic books that I read this week, and I pretty much give you guys a suggestion on either if you should pay for it or if you should slay it. Now, this is a warning. I do not rip up every single comic book, but there might be that one book in this review or show that I might tear up. You never know which one it could be. So, with that being said, guys, let's get started with this newest episode. Now, there was a lot of decent comics this week, and it was really hard for me to make a decision on, what books I didn't like, and I was kind of like, man, am I going to actually not like any books? But there actually was a couple books that I didn't like. So let's go ahead, let's get started. So I mix up the 10 books, I close my eyes, I shuffle them up so I don't know which book I'm going to talk about first. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Paper Girls, issue number 9. That's right, guys. Paper Girls is an awesome series. We're on the 9th issue. We're getting close to the end of another story arc. And it's a very nostalgic-like comic. It really opened up in the 80s, and then the girls traveled into modern-day times. It's really focused around this main character. Her name is Erin, and she's come across a couple different versions of herself. She's come across an older version of herself where she's like in the 40s, and then she's come across this other version of herself that is actually a clone, and you find that out in this issue. And the kids all come across, part of their futures, and there's just all kinds of things that go on, and just seeing all the children interact and trying to find out what is going on is really interesting. There's some really weird and crazy like creatures in here. They don't know who to trust and what not to trust, but what makes this book really good is not only for the nostalgic reasons, but it's for one of those, for all the great character interactions in here. And seeing different versions of our main character, Erin, is awesome because you really don't know which one to trust or where this book is actually going to go. But it's always great to see things that are thrown back in here. Last issue, we got to see a couple of the girls go into a mall, and the mall was shut down, and they showed a KB Toys. And this time around, you get to see a Radio Shack, which, yes, Radio Shack is still around, but there was a time where they were actually, truly dominant. And it was really good to see all that stuff in here. But by the time you get to the end of the actual issue, we wind up seeing that Erin wants to take them, futuristic Erin or cloned Erin, wants to take them into a completely different world through some kind of time warp or whatever it is. So really good book. If you guys have not read Paper Girls, I suggest you go out and read the first trade and then go read these next few issues. This is a great book. There's a lot of story to be told here. You have to read the trade to really understand it. So I sit there and say, pay it, guys. Pay for the book. Definitely go out there and buy it. This is one that you won't be disappointed. Great independent book out there from Image Comics. All right. So, excuse me. Let's talk about the next book. The next book is going to be Kill or Be Killed. Another wonderful independent comic book by Ed Brubaker. If you guys want to see a really in-depth review on this book, I did an in-depth review on Frontline. And this book is awesome because we have this guy who is really hard on his luck. His name is Dylan. He just kind of is down on himself. He tried killing himself a couple times, and he's failed at it. And this latest time, he was like in love with this girl, and this girl just, was hanging out for him or messing around with him just because she felt sorry for him, but not for real love. And this caused him to commit basically a suicide. And then what happened is he realized, well, what am I, dumb? I got plenty to live for. And so what happens is you wind up seeing that he survives this fall, and this dark entity winds up taking him over and saying, hey, I kept you alive, so now to pay me back, you have to kill a soul each and every month. And so in this issue, you wind up seeing him struggle trying to kill this one soul. Last time he wasn't really sure what to believe or not. This time he's kind of thinking that he has to kill a soul. And so seeing Dylan, our main character, tell the story is what makes the book so good. You wind up seeing him thinking of, who am I going to kill? He's like, I don't know what to do. He's like, I don't even know how to get a weapon. So you wind up seeing the story unfold. He goes to a drug dealer and he sits there and he asks him how to get a gun, which I thought was really awesome. And then he winds up going and he goes back to his old house and he realized that there was a gun there. His dad hid a gun in boxes like years and years ago. And it gives you a little insight of his story. The artwork is really good. It's dark, but this is a dark type of book. And you wind up finding out that the soul that he takes at the end of the book is he winds up taking, I think it was his best friend's brother who molested him. And he felt that that was an evil soul to take. And you wind up seeing that happen at the end of the issue. Really great story. It's definitely something that you guys should not pass up. A wonderful book. Again, great artwork. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, if this is really a real dark entity or this is a psychedelic thing that's going on in his head when he, like, actually fell and hurt himself. We don't even know yet. But this is an awesome book from Ed Brubaker. I definitely say pay for it, guys. You won't be disappointed. Killed or Be Killed, issue number 2. Issue number 1, the second printing, was released the same time as this issue, so you should go out and pick up those 2 issues together. Awesome book. Really, really good. Some good independent books this week. All right, next. Let's see what's the next book we're going to talk about, and that is... what is it? Oh! Invincible Iron Man, issue number 13. You can see I got the Invincible Iron Man shirt on today. I have not read this book in a couple of issues, and I've been just dreading it because I don't like the direction that Iron Man is actually heading. I don't like the direction that Tony Stark might be disappearing. And I dislike Dodato's artwork in this series. I don't think it's necessarily all his artwork, but it's the coloring that goes along with this book. It's just so frustrating to see, especially when you saw a very pretty artwork by Civil War's artist Dave Marquez. His artwork is gorgeous. So to seeing the book go from one extreme to the other is actually sad. And I wish Marquez stayed on the book, but I get that he had to stay, you know, do Civil War. But anyway, in this particular issue, I actually liked it, guys. You might have been surprised by saying, oh, he's going to slay this book. But this book really had to do a lot more with Tony Stark and how he's dealing with the loss of Rhodey. And I don't think we've really seen that at all. We've seen him, you know, skip around his funeral. We get to see him not, you know, talking his eulogy and all those types of things. But is this issue, we get to see him deal with things. And he faked his death, and he goes to his girlfriend Mara, and, you know, she feels like, you know, she was betrayed, and he's just saying, you know, I had to do these things. And then you get to see Tony kind of reflecting back on Rhodey's death, and you get to see some flashbacks on how those two interacted with each other and their friendship. You get to see, obviously, Captain Marvel in here, who he's just, like, kind of can't stand right now. And it was good, again, seeing these two just, you know, interact with each other, even if it was just a flashback. You get to see Rhodey pick him up when he was going through his alcoholic stages, and we wind up seeing him do a battle against Crimson Dynamo, which was a lot of fun. And for once, it just felt like an Iron Man book, and I really enjoyed that. We live in that history with these characters. And in the end, we wind up seeing Dr. Doom making his appearance again, and he sits there and he's been watching over Tony, but you never really got this clear-cut reason on why he's watching Tony. And in the end, Tony Stark winds up capturing him, and there's no way he can teleport out. So it looks like Dr. Doom is going to have to confess why he's all over Tony Stark's ass. So in the end, this was actually a good book. And I knew I had to read this issue because I know this series is coming to end, and we're going to get the new Iron Woman or Iron Man or Iron Heart or whatever the hell they're going to call her. And so I think the next issue, it says to be continued. It's not to be concluded, but the title says the end of Iron Man with a big fat question mark on there. So if you guys want to see the end of this series, I say definitely pay for it. This was actually really good. I had a good time with it. If it wasn't for that crappy artwork or coloring in it, I would have liked it a lot more. So good book, guys. I definitely suggest to read this one. All right, so what's next on this week's list? Well, let's see, and it is, what is it, guys? I don't know. Oh, Grim Tales of Terror. You probably see this cover and you're probably like, whoa, what's going on with Death there taking a selfie of herself? That's kind of not what the book is really about. It's actually about an application, and it's about these two girls that wind up getting kidnapped, and it was because of this fairy princess app. And talk about a stalker thing, but that is a thing that happens in this issue. Grim Tales of Terror, if you guys are not familiar with it, it's a horror book. It's a one-and-done type of thing. It tells one story, it's done, the next month you wind up getting another issue. And the only thing that this series suffers with is sometimes the stories seem to rush, and when you get into the story, all of a sudden it abruptly ends, and you're sitting there going, man, if this maybe had 5 more pages, or if it had 1 more issue, it could have told a really good story. And once again, Grim Fairy Tale suffers from that problem. In this book, like I said, you wind up seeing a private investigator and you wind up seeing a cop do this investigation about two girls that were actually kidnapped. And we wind up finding out that it was possibly because of this fairy princess app. So when the investigator does his investigating, he winds up going to the creator's house. And at first he thinks it's this hot blonde that created it, and it's the same girl that uses her image to talk to people as this princess. Well, literally we find out is that the investigator winds up getting poisoned by that tea, which you didn't kind of see that coming, and then she winds up using him as part of the next experiment of this app, and she winds up using him as the gorgeous prince at the end of the issue. And then you wind up finding out that it was like the investigator that was helping a girl at the same time. So it was kind of weird how it ended, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was a really good story up until it got to this point right here, right after he got drugged, and then he winds up waking up and he's on this table chained naked. I'm like, okay, now this is taking some weird turn. You know, it was really good up until like the whole mystery part, and then she's like this satanic thing that's trying to conjure up other spirits. I was like, okay, but it's a horror book. That's what it is for you. So, again, it was an okay story. It was fun to read. The ending was just a little bit disappointing. It really had me in there to the end. So, but if you're into horror books and you definitely want to check this one out, guys, I say pay for it. They're fun. You know, it's like watching a crappy 80s horror movie. All right. Next, let's see what else we're going to talk about today. And the next book is Supergirl, issue number 1. Supergirl issue was kind of, I didn't like the Rebirth issue all that much. It had to do with like this werewolf from Krypton and whatnot. But this book was a little bit better this time around because it had to do with Kara, and it had to do with her adjusting to Earth life and how Earth technology, I guess, is real, I guess, inferior compared to Kryptonian technology that is superior. And she just misses being at home at Krypton. So you see a lot of flashbacks. You get to see Kara, how she, you know, came to Earth not so long ago based off of the New 52. The artwork is a little cartoony. They got some little puppy dog eyes and facial expressions, which I'm fine for. I like the actual expressions. And I like the coloring with it. I thought it was really good. It's got cool sound effects in there when you're reading it as well. But at times I felt like, even though as much as I liked the artwork, at times I felt it was a little bit incomplete. They didn't always draw those facial expressions, and it looked a little bit, sketchy. But this was an issue that really had to dive deep into Kara's life and how she's adjusting to Earth, like I said. She hears people talking about her all the time, how she's this klutz and how she doesn't get how technology works. And then she winds up going out and she becomes Supergirl and she saves the day. But then what happens is you get caught up that Kara can only be Supergirl based off of I think it was the DEO's actual permission. They give her permission to use her powers when needed. And that's kind of the deal that they have because, she's an alien and she's untested. And we have her fake parents and stuff like that. So it really got you introduced to what this series is going to be about. And I thought it was good, and you kind of felt for Kara's struggles, how she's having a tough time adapting to Earth. The only thing I felt that it was a little bit repetitive, that she was so, oh, I'm so depressed, I don't know if I'll ever get over it. And it's not the fun, quirky Kara that kind of like in the TV show, at least not yet anyway. And then all of a sudden they rush to the cliffhanger where you wind up seeing Cyborg Superman. And I was kind of like, okay, how did all of a sudden, he showed up on Earth and he's right there, after she visited her cousin's Fortress of Solitude. So I was kind of like, okay, they kind of rushed that to get to the cliffhanger there. It would have been cool if they just sat there and had her just meet up with Superman and say, hey, everything's going to be okay. And then next we see, Cyborg Superman. So good issue. I definitely am going to give it another try. I like it better than the actual Rebirth book. So I say definitely, guys, pay for it. All right, what's the next book that we're going to talk about today? All right, next one is Aquaman Rebirth, issue number 6. Now, for you guys that have been watching my videos here on Frontline, I've been preaching about Aquaman. I haven't been a huge fan of the character. And since Rebirth has come out, I really love what Aquaman stands for. He really is trying to get the Atlanteans and the Earth dwellers or the land lovers to be at peace. But a whole bunch of shit has gone down. There's been this whole setup, like the Atlanteans have been attacking Earth. And the next thing we wind up finding out is the Chief of Staff has been trying to stop Aquaman. Mira freed him. And there's just been a war. And at the end of the last issue, you wind up seeing Superman come. And so Superman winds up coming around, and he's sitting there going, you got to stop this, and he's like, what? For what I believe in? He's like, out of all people, Clark, you should know what we believe in, being that you're an outsider as well. But he's like, but look at what you're doing. You're destroying everything. He's like, but, they're attacking him and all these other things. And then in the meantime, you wind up seeing the Atlanteans. They're coming to our author's aid. And so at this point in time, we see the Chief of Staff. He's like watching. He's like, come on, Superman, get this shit underway. He's like, I want to see a fight, And so the next thing you wind up seeing is Arthur just gets tired of it. He's like, I'm a king, for crying out sake. And he fucking cracks Superman. I mean, he goes toe-to-toe with him, and at least that's what you think. But Superman's a lot stronger. He was kind of just like holding back here, and he's trying to talk to him, and he's like we got to fix this together. He's like, we got to do this together. And then Mirror steps in, and she starts kicking ass in the issue, and it's just like, holy shit, they're wind up battling each other, and it's just like, finally, after this long fight with each other, we wind up seeing that Superman winds up letting him go, and he's saying, you have one chance to fix this, because people wind up coming out of the water, and he's just like, no shit, they mean business. Also, in the other meantime, you wind up seeing Nemo, or you wind up seeing Black Manta take over Nemo. He kills the leader, and next thing you wind up seeing is he's on the throne. He kind of slashes his neck and whatnot, which I thought was fun, and he's just like, yeah, Any questions? So I kind of saw that coming. You know, now he has an organization. He's not just on his own anymore. So we'll see where that actually goes. And then the next thing we wind up seeing is Superman lets him go to try to fix things. And Superman and Aquaman, they both know that they kind of got to get things right. This can't go on. It's not healthy for the world, and it's not healthy for their relationship. But I love how Aquaman's dialogue in this box sitting there going, I'm the outsider, I'm the black sheep. You know, it's you, Diana, and Bruce, and then it's, you know, that trio with the Green Lantern and Cyborg and Flash, and look at me, I'm just a flippin' outsider. And you can see the pain in Aquaman. It just feels like all his frustrations over the years have kind of just built up, and he's gotten to this point now after he's, you know, poured his heart and soul to make everything work, and everything is just backfiring on him. Really love this series right now. Gotta love it. Guys, don't put Aquaman down the flusher. Give him a try. I say, definitely pay for it. Alright. Let's see. Alright, that one is done. Now we're going to talk about the next book. And the next book is Justice League, issue number 4. Now, you guys know I've been on the shitter with this one as of late. I've said I haven't been dropping it. It's got these crazy entities that are destroying the earth, but the Justice League themselves feel like a hollow shell. They're just standing there all the time, not really doing anything, not really interacting. So did this issue get any better? Well, let's find out. So in this time around, we wind up seeing the Black Lantern, or the Black Lanterns, the Green Lanterns. They're destroying shit that's flying all over the sky, right? And then you wind up seeing going to Batman and Victor. They're just standing there, and they're just like, it's the Purge. It's the Purge. It's Purge. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Can you stop it, Victor? No, I don't know. I'm not sure. Wait, I'm getting a reading. And that's how this dialogue is in the issue. There's just a lot of standing around, and it's just like stuff going on. Look, the entities, they're just standing there too. There's like electric going around and stuff. And it's like, oh, there may be time for us to be powered up. The world is at the back of a tide. And there's just these things. And then Aquaman, he just sits there and he's like, oh, the quake, it was bigger than the last one. He's like, wait, did you hear that? And then it's just like constantly asking questions on what's going on. And then the next thing we go back to Batman and Cyborg, and he's just like, oh, they're trying to stop us. I can't process everything. Everything is it's just a mess. And it's just like, and Lois is like, what are those quakes still happening, Cyborg? And he's like, yeah. And then Superman's doubting himself. He's like, I'm in the center of the earth. It's so hot. I don't know if I can stop anything. He's just like, this could be the end. This could be the end of Lois and John. He's like, I don't know if I can do it. I can't. Wait, no, I can't think like that. I can't. Oh, wait, no, I'm not strong enough. I'm not strong enough. I can't do it. And then it goes back to Batman and Lois. And they're like, I don't think Superman can do it. And Lois is like, no, don't think like that, Batman. Don't think like that. So the whole time, it's just nothing is happening. They're just talking in circles. You know, it's just the entities are standing there. Flash is like, he loses his power. He goes right through him, and he's like, oh, shit, not again. And he falls to the ground. He's like, oh, it's another earthquake. And then Diana is just like standing there, and it's just like, again, there's this purge, and she's like, who are you? Who are you? And then there's this Superman. He goes back to the earth, the core again. He's like, wait, I think I'm moving it. It's like, what are you moving? What are you moving there? I'm just like, I was like freaking out while reading this book. And then the next thing you wind up seeing is that he's trying to communicate, and he's like, ah, 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 and then this happens. Well, how did we get to that? Like, I have no idea. It's just, this book sucks. I'm not gonna, guys. This book is like a car wreck, right? Just a complete utter and disaster. So what I'm gonna say to this book is, I'm gonna say, Oh, yeah. All right, next book we're going to talk about is the Avengers, all new, all different Avengers, issue number 14, Civil War II tie-in. Yeah, this is the first time that this series is tied into the Civil War. I haven't been a fan of the all new, all different Avengers as their stories have been all over the place. The series seemed very promising since that Zero issue back in Free Comic Book Day, but this has done nothing but disappoint me. And in this issue, this book promises to tell you a little bit more about the new Wasp, and her name is Nadia. And the issue opens up with nice artwork. It's great interactions with her stepmom Janet, and it was great because we get to see her actually wind up getting kidnapped at first, and it was nice to see these interactions between mother and daughter. I thought that was really nice. But then when this book fell apart was when the Civil War part tied in. Jarvis is watching on TV what happened to Bruce Banner, and next thing you wind up finding out is Nadia winds up becoming this like little whiny brat, and I get it. She has these, you know, she has these big ambitions that the heroes were going to come save the day, and they were gonna, and she was going to be, you know, a hero herself, and that they don't turn on each other, and things like that. And it's like all her hopes and dreams were crushed. But at the same time, it just felt like she was just overdoing it, and she goes into the Michaelverse. She tries to solve the problem by coming up with this, you know, this idea. She's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the Michaelverse, and I'm going to, you know, solve this problem. So hopefully Ulysses can see these visions clearly, and the superheroes can be super again, and everything can be perfect. And just like this was the book that's kind of selling you towards her individual series. And when it comes to this character, I feel like this can't hold the individual series. And that's been the problem for me when it comes to Marvel. There's too many books that are individualized, and then in the end, they wind up getting canceled. People drop them. They just don't hold people's interest. And then what they do is they make for trade bait, and then they come out with something else. You know, I get that we're always trying to do something new and different, but I think, you know, this character doesn't, I feel, have a lot to offer just yet. And does this make me want to go out there and buy, you know, a new Wasp book? It's the same with Prowler when it comes to Spider-Man. It was the same ploy, and I just don't see it working. So in the end, if you're looking for an all-new, all-different Avengers, well, you're just not really going to get all the Avengers in this book. You're just going to really get Janet and her new stepdaughter, the new Wasp. So I'm not going to buy this book anymore. It's just in a bad direction for me. I'm just going to wait until, I guess, the other volume of Avengers comes out, and we'll see where it goes. So definitely not a pay it for me. It's not a slay it, but it's not a pay it. It was a good individual issue, but just something there not for me. All right, next, what's on the list? We're going to talk about Glitter Bomb, issue number 1. This is a new book from Image Comics. This is a fun book. It has to do with about a young, or not a young actress, she's actually 40-something years old, and she's trying to still make it in Hollywood. And this book really is describing how the Hollywood business is to individuals. One minute you're it, the next minute you're out, and you can be treated, you know, thrown out like yesterday's trash. And that's how this book kind of scratches the surface a little bit in this issue, but you really get to see the story of Farah. And Farah is this struggling actress who's a single mom. She doesn't have a lot of money, and you know, she's middle-aged, so age is against her now. And some crazy shit happens to her where she becomes this crazy entity, and she winds up having a tongue that goes through her agent's skull. Yeah, that's right. I mean, this was some crazy ass shit. This is a book that I think that you guys should definitely check out. You get to see, again, all the little things that happen in Hollywood that doesn't go to actresses' names. I thought it was a really interesting book. Seeing her going through the struggles of being that single parent, paying a babysitter, not having a father figure. Just a really awesome book. And it'll be good to see how she deals with things in the future, whether it comes to her powers. Will she use it for good? Will she use it for bad? What's going to happen? A lot of mysteries revolving around this book. Definitely can't wait to read more. Support the independent books out there, guys. This is one that you should pick up. I say definitely pay for it, guys. Pay it. Pay for that book. All right, and last but not least, the book that we're going to talk about today is Cyborg, issue number 1. I kind of poked fun at this book, saying that this finger looked like it was like some kind of robotic dildo. You know, he's sexually frustrated. I said that on my haul. But this was a good book. This actually really was. I dropped the last volume of this, and in this book, it was a perfect rebirth issue, because if you're not familiar with Cyborg, if all you know him was from the Justice League, it really does a nice job at describing his origin. Basically tells you how he grew up, you know, who was the, you know, there's this creature that's chasing him going into this room at Star Labs, and you get his origin tale from, you know, when he was a little baby, how his parents met. And it was a really nice story. It really gets you invested into the character and saying, man, maybe I want to read a Cyborg book. And it showed you everything that happened in his life. And I really enjoyed that aspect of the comic book. And the cool thing is at the end, when he defeats the monster, there was this secret room that his dad was holding these secrets in. And they're saying, did I create the next super soldier to help mankind, or did I create this soldier to destroy mankind? And we wind up finding out at the end that there was like this, I guess, evil version of his, I think that's his dad, or either an evil version of himself. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if maybe his dad experimented with the technology before he used it on his son or on other test subjects, and this is what became of it. So I'm not sure yet, but his job is to actually recruit all these cybernetic beings out there to become this army to take over the world. So it looked pretty cool. I liked it. What I really got out of it was it made me like Victor as a character, and made me want to follow his journey. Whether it continues to be there or not, at least it warrants another consideration for the eventual issue number 1 that's to come out. So definitely, guys, the surprise book of the week. So I say definitely, guys, go out there and pay for the book. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed episode number 3 of Pay It or Slay It. Now it's your turn in the comments below to tell me which books you want to slay and what books you want to pay. And fans, until that next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off, and I'll see you in the next comic book review. Take care, fans. Bye.